We are live. You may begin.
Good evening, Rattlers. We're excited and welcome to Strike the Vote, a virtual party with a purpose. We appreciate your time this evening. We're excited to have you involved. In a few minutes, you'll be meeting some amazing alumni and over the next hour who have graduated from the university. You'll hear comments from Dr. Robinson, your esteemed SGA president as well, Xavier McClinton, and some of the best and brightest to come out of FAMU. Oscar Joyner, our host, will be joining us shortly. So now I'd like to turn it over to one of my favorite friends and mayors of East Point, Mayor Deanna Ingram. Mayor Ingram, are you there? Rattlers, don't forget, we are celebrating National Voter Registration Day. So please check out the link, which should be in your bio. If you received a message on social media, we want you to register to vote. Our vote is important. We don't care who you support, but we want you to get out to the polls. That is important. You have the convenience, if you're on campus, of an actual location. I'll be open on campus for both early voting as well as the actual big day, Tuesday, November 3rd.
Hey, Keisha, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Am I back? Okay.
Yes, you are.
Hey, Rattlers. Sorry, I accidentally dropped. Hey, Dr. Robinson, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
All right. I hope everybody on YouTube and on my family can hear me. I'm Oscar Joyner, a 1998 graduate of the School of Business and Industry and a resident of Dallas, Texas, and a father of 3 at this point. But listen, we're on this line right here to talk to you students at FAMU and in Tallahassee about this right here, registering to vote. Listen, I'm so proud of everybody at FAMU and in Tallahassee about what you all are already doing to register to vote. The last day to register is coming up on October 5th in Florida. You guys have till October 5th to register to vote. Throughout this hour, we're going to be sharing some links, some QR codes, some things that we want you to share, post with your friends and family while we're on board. Right now, I want to know, do I have the mayor of East Park, Georgia on board? Is Georgia May on board? Is the mayor of East Point on the line yet? One of the reasons we wanted to have this call, students that are out there listening, is to highlight the enormity of the alums that we have here. And while I see Dr. Robinson is there, Dr. Robinson, when you and I were talking last week, we talked about having a virtual event and how great it would be to have influencers, as they say, and people of note that would encourage our students to go out and vote. But we said, you know what? We've got enough alumni of FAMU alone to just have our own call, starting with mayors. We'll get to some entertainers and some actors and actresses later this hour. But Dr. Robinson, why don't you tell us how proud you are of our elected officials that have graduated from Florida A&M?
Well, thanks, Oscar, for giving me an opportunity to participate this evening. But I also want to thank Keisha Walker, Terrell Whitley, and all of the members of your HBCU Vote team. And thank you on behalf of the family. And thank you for this opportunity to help encourage FAMU students to participate in the voting process. I also want to recognize our student leaders, Student Government Association President and trustee, one of my bosses, Xavier McClinton, and his Vice President, Carrington Wiggum, for their Strike the Vote campaign, also designed to encourage FAMU students to vote. For many of our students, this will be the first time that they will vote. And as you all know, voting is a precious right in America's democracy. And if cherished and properly utilized, this right will open the door to wider possibilities and privileges of citizenship for you, your loved ones, and the communities in which you live and work. If this right can be visualized in a physical context, it would be scarred, dented, bruised, and tarnished by the blood of so many who throughout our nation's history, even in 2020, have gotten themselves, in the words of John Lewis, into some good trouble for our sake. And in us, these brave souls saw the fulfillment of Dr. King's dream. In us, they envisioned a different future. They saw the act of voting as an act of faith, the belief in something they had not yet experienced. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said it so eloquently. Faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. If you're concerned about the progress of our people, we must take this first step. Vote. Use your vote to amplify your voice. If you wish to be heard, your tone will sound much sweeter and resonate deeper through your actions as a voting member of this society. Otherwise, your voice will likely fall upon deaf ears. However, I want you to be heard and to be respected. I know you want those things too. You want to change the world. Your vote opens the door to these possibilities and beyond. Fannie Lou Hamer, Mississippi servant leader who, in attempting to register to vote way back in the 1960s, was evicted from a home on a sharecropping plantation, was jailed and viciously beaten in Winona, Mississippi, which left her with permanent kidney damage. Yet she refused to be deterred. Hamer said, "Now you can't have me fired cause I'm already fired." She was not deterred. Her body was broken, but her voice remained strong. She said in 1965, it's time for America to get right. You have the vote and your voice to make that happen. It's imperative that we exercise our right to vote in the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer's of the world, those who have gone, those who are with us now, and those yet to come. We cannot let them down. Finally, let me share with you that it's not by happenstance that Florida A&M University stands among some of the best institutions in the nation. From our fellow historically Black colleges and universities to public universities in general, we are in good company, according to U.S. News and World Report. On our campus this semester, we opened a 700-bed residence hall and will soon complete the construction of an 80,000 plus square foot building to allow for our student services to be consolidated in one place. Last year, the Blueprint Intergovernmental Agency here in Tallahassee approved a $10 million investment in the Bragg Memorial Stadium Renaissance Project. The votes and voices of our students, faculty, staff, and alumni and friends contributed to these outcomes. Since April 25th, the free COVID-19 test site on our campus has seen 47,000 plus tests administered to students, to citizens on the South Side and in this region. The votes and voices of our students, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends contributed to this outcome. You know, Rutgers have throughout our history made a difference in the lives of others. You know, we have mayors such as Keisha Lance Bottoms, Mayor Carter and Ingram, who are doing great things on behalf of their communities. This is why you see this evening our alumni reaching back to get our students currently enrolled at the university excited about voting. They recognize that you are part of a storied legacy. So please continue this great FAMU tradition. And you know how it goes. When the dark clouds gather on the horizon, vote, vote, and vote again. Thank you very much.
I like that, Dr. Robinson. I like that a lot. You're absolutely right. We are some alumni that have come together to pull this call and this initiative together. Dr. Robinson is absolutely correct. We have a long history of stepping up and stepping out. And speaking of those that are marching in the footsteps of Fannie Lou Hamer, we have our own alum, Mayor Ingram. Welcome, the mayor of East Point, Georgia. And I wanted to ask her briefly to give us some comments, not just on the importance of voting, but while everybody is focused on the highest office in the nation, you happen to represent a point in Atlanta where the airport is. There's so much importance to down ballot voting, the other initiatives besides the President of the United States that we're trying to tell everybody out there. I mean, there's a railroad that runs right through the middle of our campus. So who the railroad commissioner matters in Leon County. Can you tell us a little bit about the down ballot voting and how important that is?
Well, absolutely. Hi, Dr. Robinson and all my fellow alum, Keisha, and Oscar. I haven't seen him like forever, so it's good to be on the call amongst friends. And I definitely am excited to talk tonight about just the power that we have. And also, as Oscar said, the importance of voting down ballot. And so, you know, whether or not your trash gets picked up, whether or not when you turn the faucet on your sink and the water comes out, whether or not when you flip your light switch and your lights come on, whether or not there's police who respond when you call 911, all of that is local. That is not federally provided. Some funding comes from that, but the staff and the government that is actually responsible for that is at the local level, and which is why I am so honored to serve as a local elected official. I served as a council member in the city of East Point for 4 years before becoming mayor. And I can tell you each and every day, I can see the impact of our work on the quality of life of our residents, right? And so when you talk about really trying to go out and be a social engineer and transform the community and engineer a society that is just, fair, and equitable, the local government level is really the level that is closest to the people, and is really where decisions are made. And you know, the top of the ballot, the president, is somebody literally you generally just see on TV, right? As you go down the ballot, you're getting literally closer to home and closer to people that you can touch, closer to people that, I mean, residents at the grocery store, right? And so why leave that on the table? And why leave your power to make decisions and elect people who you can hold accountable to make the decisions that are to the community? Why leave that on the table? You know, it's unfortunate that the presidential and gubernatorial and state rep, like those elections are in even number years. And then the municipal elections are in odd number years. And there's literally at least probably about a 50 to 60% drop off in the number of people who actually come out to vote in municipal elections. And that is probably the most important that you feel every day. And so, you know, voting down the ballot, every single position is important. It is all connected to you, your quality of life, the life that you and your family will be able to have, not only now, but in the future. The decisions that we make today have generational impact. And so it's critically important that we vote down ballot, and that we vote for people who care about people, right? Not people who are in it to just, you know, get a name for themselves. Or, I mean, you can figure this out when you're talking to people. If you talking to somebody, you ask them why they're running or what they're gonna do, and if they're not really resonating with how it's gonna impact you, what's in it for you, then you know that might not be the person to select, but that is your power. And so back to why we're here and registering to vote and making sure that you start exercising your power immediately. I was just listening to a radio station today, and they said people who actually start voting at the age of 18 have a higher propensity to be lifelong voters, right? So like if you start engaging immediately at the time that you are able to vote, there's a higher likelihood that you will be a lifelong voter and participate. And I can tell you every single election is critically important. And so for me, what I kind of have like a uniform that I wear. One is a census t-shirt telling people to be counted, because when we count, we matter. And that's millions of dollars that comes to our community to be able to provide services, right? If I only get 20,000 people counted and have 40,000 residents, I'm gonna get money for 20,000. And then I got to figure out how to make up the rest. So it's critically important. You as a person, you living in America, your power, your fundamental power is in the power to be counted and the power to vote. And that is so powerful. And there are a lot of people who spend a lot of times making us feel like it doesn't matter, that it's not important, that it doesn't, you know, why show up is going, but that is all a part of a system. And right now we're trying to dismantle systemic racism, right? And so voting is more important now than ever before. So it takes only a quick second. You can now register most places online. Make sure you're registered, make sure you're voting. And not that you just vote in November of this year, but that you vote in January, in runoffs, in March, in mid-year elections, in special elections. Whenever there's election, like literally, if there's one thing on the ballot, I vote, right? Because every single election counts. And it starts first with registering. So I encourage you on National Voter Registration Day to make sure that you are registered to vote and that you continue to strike from the top and model what FAMU is really about, right? We learn how to work hard and play hard on the Hill, and we got to work really hard to ensure that our democracy survives through this year and beyond. So thank you, Oscar, for the introduction. Thank you, Keisha, for the invitation. Thank you, Dr. Robinson, for this opportunity as well. And to our baby rattlers, vote, vote, vote.
All right. Thank you, Sister Mayor. Appreciate you coming on with us. She said some really important words. Ben Crump is hopefully going to be joining us later as he's dealing with yet another crisis in the Black Lives Matter movement. And hopefully he will tell us more about, again, down balloting. I can tell all of you online right now, if you have a friend, a relative, a loved one, a line brother, a classmate, if something happens to them, whether it's a police issue or whether it's just something else, it is the district attorney. It's the circuit court judge. It's all those people down ballot, not the presidents who are going to have anything to do with you getting justice. So that's why it's so important. So while we're waiting on our next guest, DJ, I'm asking you to cue up some music, but coming up next, we've got another FAMU alum to give you a bit of a comedy break. I don't know, Mayor, if you were here when Roy Wood Jr. was a student at Florida A&M, but he graduated in 2001. He's now one of the most acclaimed comics and funniest in the country. I myself used him on the Tom Jordan Morning Show plenty of times. He's a Mobile, Alabama native. He's coming up next. But right now, DJ Loose Kid, the resident rattler, drop that beat.
Once again, welcome all rattlers. Let's go.
All the shorties in the club, let me see you just back it up, drop it down, let me see you just
Welcome to Strike a Vote, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
push it up, push it up.
Do your dance. Come on.
Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble.
Do it.
Wobble, baby, wobble, baby,
Lucy
wobble,
Jam,
baby, wobble. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble.
Big girl, make her back it up. Make her back it up. Hey, big girl.
Don't forget, man. Make sure you get registered to vote. Here we go.
Big girl, make her back it up.
Oh,
Make her back it up.
do your dance.
Hey, big girl, make her back it up. Make her back it up. Back it up.
I'm shaking it, it's like Congo, man. I'm shaking the city like
Let's go.
haters blow in the face like
We in Rattler Nation right now. Welcome to the Hill. Here we go.
I'm taking the game's mine. Yeah, I witness the change, it's my time. Yeah, I'm new to the game, but y'all might wanna say you whack raps, they like save the time. I can dance all day, I don't two-step. Y'all looking at something like a true player. A girl told me that a man that can dance might can possibly.
Come on. Listen, man, it's all about voting. That's what we're doing. Everybody make sure you get registered to vote. Loose Kid, let's go.
Loose Kid.
Uh-oh. Listen, man, I need you to tell your auntie, tell your cousin, tell your brother, tell somebody you love, make sure they register to vote. If you won't change, you got to vote. Let's go. Okay. I want to get a little crazy on the live. Here we go. Uh-oh. Let's go. Make sure you use the hashtag VoteHBCU. Make sure you use the hashtag VoteHBCU. Here we go.
Lucy Jam time.
Let's go. Hey, Keish. Yeah. Two-step, two-step, two-step. Let's go. Uh-oh. Y'all know the chorus. Here we go. What we doing? Let's go. Yeah. Don't forget, man, we getting ready for Election Day, November 3rd. We getting ready. Let's go. Let's go. Uh-oh, come on. I need my rattlers like, if you're watching, I need you to line it up. Let's go. Florida A&M, the highest of the 7.
Be the one that you throw it to. Throw it back.
Let's go.
I'd like to spend the rest of my night with you. So how about you, huh? Yeah, so how about you?
Let's go.
Give her back, take your again. That's because you throw a 5, I pitch a 10. Now she wanna get inside of my 6.
Welcome to the virtual party, baby.
Like
Here we go.
She say she love her man, she
hashtag vote HBCU.
distant me.
I need everybody spread the word. Spread the word. Make sure you tell them to vote. Let's go.
And I don't lie, I confess. I'm the one who turned an orange vest to a dress.
What's up?
Gotta dress to impress though. Gotta stay clean. Plus, mommy in the next row. She with me, what you expect? I live.
Oscar, how we looking on time? Talk to me.
Junior, sincerely, yo.
Uh-oh.
It rains, it pours. When it rains, it pours. Jazzy, come on. Yeah.
Hey, appreciate that, DJ. All right, thanks everybody. Want to make sure y'all mask up. Look, I got my mask on. I know at FAMU, y'all sell them in the bookstore. Chief Miles tells me you gave them out. President, you got yours. I got mine. Okay, everybody, I know we can't see you and you can't see us, but represent right now. Represent right now while you got your mask on. We all got our own. Right now, I see we got another FAMU alum online, another strong politician of ours, the mayor of Miami Gardens. He's getting in his car and getting situated right now, so I'll give you about 10 more seconds, Mayor Gilbert. But listen, welcome, brother, welcome. I wanted to make sure that we highlighted just how successful some of our are and just how young some of you brothers are and sisters that are doing good things around this country. So we've got some family on this Zoom call that's being projected on YouTube Live, but let me introduce everybody to the mayor of Miami Gardens, Mayor Oliver Gilbert, home of Jazz in the Gardens, one of the best parties in the nation, if you don't know. Okay, Mayor Gilbert, give us a word.
Hey, listen, first of all, thank you all for having me and thank you all for doing this. The music was great, but more importantly, what's important is that you all are actually talking about voting. You know, far too often, we don't have conversations about voting in our community like we need to. We will complain after elections and before elections, but we don't vote during the election. This is the time when we actually determine whether this country is going to reflect and respect us. You know, people talk about the Supreme Court being on the ballot. Listen, it's not the Supreme Court. It's Supreme Court and it's voting rights and it's Pell Grants. And it's how we attack and attack the actual issues that are confronting us in America and the world today. If you're not registered to vote and you're a Rattler, you're supposed to be. Because Rattlers, we have a tradition of excellence that was born and bred on the highest of 7 hills. God created a whole word for us. It's called incomparable. We understand the value of voting. We understand the value of our voice. We understand the value of leadership. I'm encouraging all of y'all to get out there, register to vote, and then don't just register to vote, but vote and take somebody with you. This really might be the most important election of our time, of our lifetime, at least mine, because what I see is people who devalue us, people who don't value us, they don't respect our voice, and they won't be made to do it unless we make them do it. And we do that with our votes. So listen, go to iwillvote.com. No matter what state your home state is, it'll show you how you can register to vote. And let's just get it done, FAMU.
Now, Oliver, I can only assume that you were involved in politics and this level since you were a student at FAM. We were just talking about how important it is to get started early, and those that vote at the early age of 18 or at their first time they can elect have a higher propensity to continue to vote. So when you were a student, FAM, by the time, remind us what year it was you graduated and tell us about how active you were on the Hill.
I graduated in 1995. Graduated in 1995. I was in the FAMU Student Senate, and I produced a television show called Snake Eyes. And look, I tell people, look, I'm the mayor of Miami Gardens. I'm commissioner-elect down here. Miami Gardens, for the history, for those who don't understand who we are, we're the largest Black city in the state of Florida. Percentage-wise, we're the third largest Black city, percentage-wise, in the country. And so it's being mayor of my hometown was difficult. Being elected county commissioner was difficult, but nothing compared to FAMU student government. FAMU student government will prepare you for business. It'll prepare you for politics. It'll prepare you for life. And it also, it gives you that experience in actually speaking for people. Sometimes we don't understand the significance of us being someone's voice. When they can't necessarily articulate what it is they want, what it is they need, and how we get there. Being able to figure that out, being able to give it voice, and then being able to bring it to life is important. I learned that at FAMU. I learned that at FAMU from 1990 to 1995.
And Oscar and Mayor Gilbert, in Rattlers, for those you don't know, Mayor Gilbert created history this year. He hosted the Super Bowl in his hometown, and there were 2 Black mayors who actually hosted, their teams played in the Super Bowl with a Black mayor from Florida A&M University. It has never happened in the history of NFL, 100-year history of NFL. And a FAMU Rattler led the city and the world through Super Bowl with 2 Black mayors from a sister town. So congratulations, Mayor Gilbert. Congratulations on being the commissioner of the city. You do an amazing job, and we're so excited to be supporting you and working with you forever. Rattlers for life.
For life. Thank you, Keisha. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Mayor Gilbert. I want to encourage everybody again that's watching online. There are links in your chat for you to share. All of you students that are at Florida A&M, you can register in your dorm at your local address to register here in Florida. But for those of you that come to Florida A&M from a swing state, we need you to forward these links to get your friends and families back in Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia, South Carolina, even my home state of Texas. If you've got family and friends there, we want to put some content up and some links on the screen now for you to share as we're speaking. Take a minute, click on it, share it. We've got some resources we want to put up here during this hour for you to post yourselves. This isn't just about us having some talking heads on the screen. We want to have some action items for you all to do. At the end of this day, it would be great for you all to say that you all, during this call, during a music break, or while one of our mayors or other celebs coming up was speaking, you took the time to forward a link to 5 of your friends back home in Ohio, where it's going to really make a huge difference, or down in Miami Gardens, where it's going to make a huge difference in your own state. Again, if you are registered, congratulations. If you are not, go to votetolive.org. Votetolive.org is the website that we want you to share with your family, friends, students, deans, RAs, everybody on campus. So while we're waiting on our next guest to come up, DJ, I want you to give me a little beat, and I want everybody to check out the links and the content that should be in the chat, so that we can afford you all the opportunity to make some change where you're at. Remember, the last day to register to vote in the state of Florida is October 5th. So go to votetolive.org. Anything that you want to share about today and what you're about to do in the future in the next 46 days before the election, we wanted to share it on hashtag VoteHBCU. So DJ, give me something to vote to.
This is how we do it.
Just a little party on the line. Welcome to the virtual party. Let's go.
This is how we do it.
Virtual hall. Let's go. Come on.
This is how we do it.
What we doing?
I feel alright.
What we trying to do is make sure you get registered to vote. Let's go. Today is definitely National Voters Registration Day. Here we go. Come on.
Honey's in the streets, say money, yo, we made it. My hood tonight. The summertime skirts and the guys ain't canine. All the gang bang.
Here we go.
You gotta get your groove on.
I told you it's all about having some fun. Welcome to the virtual party. We get ready to vote. Strike the vote. Here we go.
Kind of buzz, and it's all because this is how we do it. South Central does it like nobody does. This is how we do it.
Welcome, welcome inside to the highest of 7. Here we go.
Loose Kid.
Let's go.
What y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air.
It's all about feeling good, having some fun. Welcome to the party. Let's go.
It's showtime, showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know.
They told me something about excellence with care. Welcome to the hill.
You ready now?
I need you to do something for me. Do somebody bust some moves.
I mean, sell the phone.
Uh-oh.
You ain't got to finish the song.
Yeah, come on. Dr. Robinson, what up, baby?
Oh, I see. I got it.
Let's
All
go.
right.
Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on. Put your freeze up.
And we're back, and I got America's Rattler on the line. Everybody give it up for Roy Wood Jr. Roy, appreciate you coming on, brother. Glad you came out. I got my FAMU mask on here. Listen.
Now you know the
the
corona
purpose
can't come
and
through the
it's-
computer screen. You scared of that corona coming through the computer screen on you? You ain't taking no chances over there.
Tell him
Oscar Jordan.
again, Roy. Tell him, Roy.
We don't know that, Roy. We don't know the science yet.
That's true.
Hey,
That's
Roy,
true,
why don't you
man.
Give us a word about what it was like when you were active on campus and the importance of voting. I want to make sure that everybody online, if I can get them to laugh, I can get them to listen. Okay, so I want you to tell us, about your humorous take on what's going on in the world and why it's important to these students that are online right now. Watching us get out there.
That's cool. Now let me straighten out a couple facts with you first, Oscar Joyner, before we get into the voting situation. Now you gave me a very humble introduction a little earlier. You said that I graduated from Florida A&M in the year 2000. It was supposed to be the year 2000. It was 2001. I wanted to graduate in 2000, but apparently God had other plans for me. He said, no, you need to stay there one more year. You need to do 5 years instead of 4 years. I wanted to be in student government. I'm not as eloquent as my wonderful mayor down in Miami Gardens, our wonderful mayors over in Georgia, these fellow rattlers. I wanted to be in student government. I didn't have that 3.0. God had other plans. So, what I have been able to do, though, in working at The Daily Show is, for the last 4 or 5 years, working with Trevor Noah, is to be able to see what happens when people give a damn about our democracy. And I know we touched on it a little bit, but I want to say, I just want to mention for a second to the out-of-state students, who don't have a Florida ID yet. If they are running any type of flim-flam or not letting you register to vote in Florida, go to vote.org and get you an absentee ballot. I know some folks get scared of voting because the line long and you've been in that foothill you're building, you're shell shocked, you got long line PTSD. I understand, but you can still do whatever you can to vote absentee, even if you're not able to physically go to the polls on November 3rd. And it's very important. It's very, very important that we get out there and vote and that we do our part. And I'm going to give you all a quick example of how democracy works. When they're talking about, Mayor Ingram was talking about voting down the ballot. Let me show y'all how down the ballot voting can work positively for Black people. So, I've spent, most of my life in Birmingham, Alabama, where we have a young brother, also an HBCU grad, Morehouse man, Mayor Randall Woodfin. Comedy Central gave me a television sitcom, and they said, you can shoot this show in Birmingham. Now, you got to make the money work, and I don't want to get into all of the flim-flam about television, but I go to Mayor Woodfin, and I go, yo, man, I'm on a tight budget. These white folks ain't going to be cutting me no major checks. What can we do to make this show happen in Birmingham? And you have local officials, and it wasn't just the mayor, it was the county commissioners, it was the city councilmen, it was all of these people who were elected, who saw that something was for the betterment of the city and betterment of society. And we put a predominantly Black show. We shot a predominantly Black television show with an all Black cast, and gave jobs to minorities and got them the game on getting into, TV and film. And these are the types of things that can change the trajectory of families. These are the type of opportunities that can give people just that little sliver of opportunity to go somewhere greater and do bigger things. And it all still comes down to the elected officials. It all still comes down to the people that you bumping shoulders with at Walmart, the same people you running into, if we're gonna be honest, you're probably running into some of them at the club, but that's a conversation for another day. It's just very important that everybody get out there and vote. And thank you all so much for the opportunity to even be a part and speak on this. I was told that being a part of this situation tonight, Oscar, I was told y'all would knock off about $5, $6 off my student loan. So just make sure that credit is applied and we good to go. And I appreciate everybody.
So Oscar, I'd like to say one thing if I could. You see my hand shaking, Roy? You know why? Because the
Why?
Golden Corral is closed down.
No!
No, it hasn't been open. It hasn't been open since the coronavirus hit.
Man. For the folks who don't know, man, that's where I put in my work. I rode my bike from Gibbs Hall to the Golden Corral on North Monroe, right across from On the Border and across from Lake Ella. Y'all don't know, man. I knew Dr. Robinson back in the day, man. I tell y'all, Dr. Robinson used to be in Golden Corral putting everything on his plate. He wasn't always this healthy. Dr. Robinson come back to the table. Dr. Robinson would go up to the buffet, Oscar. He'd come back to the table with broccoli, ice cream, and a burrito. And I'm like, what meal are you trying to accomplish today? Respectfully.
I appreciate that, Roy.
Yeah, man. Much love to everybody,
brother.
man.
Thanks for coming back and giving us the word.
Yes, sir.
All right. Listen, we got some other notable FAMU alums on the line that I don't want to keep waiting any longer. I'm glad Roy came to give us some humor, but right now we've got two successful and notable alums that again can give us a powerful word to these students that are online about how they can get out to vote, how they can go to votelive.org. Let me introduce two alums, two friends of mine whose work speaks volumes to what they do. Hollywood director Rob Hardy and the princess herself and Power Zone Anika Noni Rose. Let me allow you two to come on and speak. You guys have a certain rapport with each other, guys. You guys have worked with each other since you were students at FAM and beyond that, but this is about, the audience that you all reach with your productions. You all do projects every day that reach this audience, so you know who we're talking to about how important it is to spread the word, not only to those students, but to their friends back home on the swing state, and how important it is to register to vote.
Yeah. Rob, you look like you took a breath. Were you about to say something and I interrupted you?
No, do your thing, love. How you doing? It's good to see you.
I'm good. It's good to see you too. And hey, Roy Wood. Hey. I was in Atlanta for the 2016 debacle. And it was really interesting being there because I spoke to a lot of people about voting, just randomly. I was working, so I didn't really have time to be, somewhere giving out ballot info, but I talked to people, just whoever I saw, particularly young people, but also grown folks that I saw just to make sure. And it was distressing to me, the amount of people who were not going to vote, did not care to vote, felt that their vote didn't matter. And I have to say, here we are. This is a year, we thought that was the year we were like, this is it, this is life or death. And we found out this year that was it, and it was life or death, and it ended up being a lot of death because of that election. And I'm not blaming the loss of the election on us or the people that I spoke to, but what I am saying is we don't have the right, we don't have the space not to vote and make our voices heard, particularly when you are someone on a campus like FAMU. The people who walked, marched, got hurt, got killed, bled for you to have this right. Their spirits are there, and they are supporting you. It may take a little more work this year. You may have to get your absentee ballot. Get it now. Don't wait. We have been, the things that we have seen in the past 4 years are pretty unreal. They're unreal. Let's just be very honest. Who thought that we would spend 2020 watching friends, family, young people, old people die who didn't have to, because we have a president who doesn't care about people in general, but specifically about us. This is the time to make our voices heard. This is the time to make the change that we need. And anybody telling you, well, Biden's not that different, Biden is very different. He's very different. We will still have fights to fight. We will still have information that we will need to dig for. We will still be calling Breonna Taylor's name and trying to get her justice amongst so many others. But we will have someone who is not a sociopath in office. That makes a big difference. And so all I can say is please, 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 please vote, please. We are in a space right now. We are in a space.
And you know what you
Rob,
absolutely.
a lot of times, I was going to say a lot of times, life imitates art and vice versa. How are some of the things that you're working on right now? This life has got to be incorporating itself in some of the storylines and projects you're working on, huh?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy. You know, I think that, you know, first of all, shout out to you guys for putting this on, from, brother Dr. Robinson to, Keisha Walker to Big Oscar, just seeing some of y'all, and even, brother Keith Miles, who helped make me in Alpha. I just want to give you all a shout out, because FAMU has always been a shining example of, how things should get done. And I think back to when we were on the Hill and we were protesting and we were marching on the Capitol. At that time, it was Jeb Bush trying to run for governor. It's just to take you back and see how far, long ago that was in the 90s. But there was always a spirit that we had to be part of the change. And it starts with us, but it also starts with the young people. And, Anika's right. There's so many of us and so many of our people that think that our votes don't matter. But when we look at states like Georgia and see that, Stacey Abrams, lost the governor's race by a few thousand votes, and there were a few 100,000 registered Black people in Metro Atlanta alone, that Andrew Gillum lost Florida by a few thousand votes, and there are a few 100,000 Black people in Miami-Dade County, where he's from, that simply didn't vote. And because we buy into my vote doesn't count, or it's going to be the same, or it doesn't affect me, that's why we get what we get. By doing nothing, that's a vote for the guy that's in office. And if you think that it can't get worse, look at the programs that's happening. Look at how the police are treating us. Look at the rhetoric. Look at the curriculum that they're trying to teach or remove in our schools. All that stuff affects when people feel comfortable disrespecting us, comfortable disrespecting our wives, our moms, our sisters, our children, ourselves, just because we simply are existing. So I think that we can't fall for the okie doke. We can't get distracted by, rappers that say that they're enlightened and they want to go out there and be on the ballot or whatever. We got to really stay focused. And it doesn't matter if, you don't love every candidate. You got to go who's the most in your interest. And then when they're there, you hold them accountable. And if you don't like that new person, then run somebody else or you run. But we just can't afford to be on the sideline anymore. We didn't learn that at FAMU. And we need people to know that your power is not just sitting on the phone complaining or just liking the latest TikTok video. I love it. But your power is mattering and going to the polls and getting active and changing something in our community. Because if we don't, trust me, on the other side, they are going to do whatever they can to take away whatever it is that we have, simply because they don't like that, like us. And the guy that's in the top seat is making that plain and clear. So again, I just want to thank y'all for just even putting this together to let people know, because this is the absolute most important election in our lifetime. And if you don't believe that, just look at what was happening in Tallahassee. Look at what was happening in places across the country when you march peacefully, and then people come and grab you and abduct you and then make it a felony for you to even assemble and, you know, peacefully protest, while there are other people that can assemble with machine guns and intimidate people, and that's okay. So that just tells you why this election is so important. It's gotta vote, man.
Do you remember, Rob, when the Klan came to FAMU and marched? And I was astounded. I was astounded. And people were outraged. And we marched against their march. And it seemed at the time that that was such a throwback and so wild, even though we were in the middle of where we are when we're in Tallahassee. Who would have thought that in 2020, that would no longer be wild? That would no longer be a surprise, that people would casually be touting Nazi rhetoric and walking around with their gear, and no one is any longer surprised. That must change. It must change. And we have to also realize that we are not alone. We are not, when we are voting for Black people and we are voting for our rights, we must remember that we also need to be holding hands with brown people, that we also need to be holding hands with anybody on the edges of our society who is not being supported. They are a part of this fight that we are having. This is not the time to be like, oh, well, you know, they go to church on Saturday, we go to church on Sunday. We're not gonna hold hands with them. Hold that hand and let us make this difference together. This is the time for us to be together and find the things that glue us together, because we don't have a choice anymore. We don't have a choice.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Anika. Thanks, Rob. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate you guys giving us a word. To the students that are out there, you guys can see from Roy, from Anika, from Rob. These are former Gibbs Hall and McGuinn Diamond and Truth Hall. I'm a Young Hall resident. We're not far removed from where you all were, despite where we may be in our stages in life now. But it is so important that we can still, all of us on this call, share our own experiences, that despite where we are, we've had our own experiences to where it would be important if there was a district attorney or a circuit court judge or a sheriff or someone else down the ballot that I keep stressing that could actually help out my situation, your situation there in Tallahassee, or your situation back home. So again, Rob and Anita, thank you very much. Let me take this minute while we're waiting another guest to ask DJ Loose Kid to cue up some Marching 100 music for us. But in the meantime, I want to encourage all the students that are out there, again, send your loved ones back home in the swing state you come from, votetolive.org. Just open up a text message right now and just type in votetolive.org and text 5 people back where you're from and ask them, have they used this? Do they need it? Can they afford it? Are they registered? Again, it is so important. We can make the difference. We've all heard the stories like Rob said. Only a few thousand votes have sometimes called the election, and there are tens of thousands that could have actually made a difference. So right now, again, thank you all for coming. We're gonna put some a little bit of Party in the Purpose real quick and get the DJ some time to drop some beats while we queue up the next guest. So DJ Loose Kid, hit it.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Hey, thank y'all, man. This is dope.
Let's go. Come on.
Thank you so much, Keisha. I really appreciate it.
We got to act like it's halftime at Bragg Stadium. Come on. All right, let's go. Welcome to Strike a Vote. Let's go. Here we go. Yeah. Don't forget, man, today is National Voters Registration Day. The whole purpose is making sure you're registered to vote. Come on. You got to vote. You got to vote. Tell your auntie, tell your cousin, tell your family, tell somebody you love. Get out there and vote. Let's go.
Lucy Jam, guys.
Often imitated but never duplicated, ladies and gentlemen. The marching 100. Here we go, let's go. Yeah.
All right, DJ Loose Kid, appreciate that. Don't forget, this was National Voter Registration Day, so it's important that we show up and show out, FAMU. Don't forget to go to votetolive.org and register to vote. Send that link to your families and friends. There's a tiny URL that's been flashing on your screen. You guys can click on that or copy it. We want to do everything we can to make sure that this school shows why we're #1 public institution in the country, all right? So speaking of our great students and student base, a young man who I had the pleasure of meeting while we're joining this campaign is Xavier. Xavier, are you there? Xavier, the Student Government Association president?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hey, Xavier, listen, can you give us a word about some of the activities that you guys have going on campus that you want to remind some of the students to make sure they participate in, as well as maybe there's some information on this chat you might want to hit, but most importantly, again, you represent the students there, so make sure that they know what's going on campus. Go.
Look, guys, so it's really important that we get registered to vote. As Rattlers, as FAMU students, we stand on the shoulders of giants right now, and it's really important that we utilize and exercise this right that we have to vote. So there's a couple of deadlines that I want to talk to you about. So coming up on October 5th, that's the deadline to be registered to vote and request your mail-in ballot. So remember, we got October 3rd, which is FAMU's anniversary coming up on that day. Think about that you only got 2 more days to get registered to vote. When it comes out Monday evening at 11:59 or 5 o'clock, whatever it is, but don't even wait that long. Just make sure that you're registered to vote, that you go and take some time to hit one of the links at vote.org, or I'm forgetting the links that we're using today. But just click one of the links in the chat right now. Go ahead and get registered to vote, share it with some family members and friends, get them signed up to vote as well. The deadline to request a ballot by mail is Saturday, October 25th. And so one of the things that with this election, a lot of times it's a lot of confusion that's going around in the Air Force. And so if you don't feel comfortable going into a precinct or going into vote in person, whether that's early or on election day, make sure you send in that request to vote by mail by that October 24th deadline. And early voting begins on Saturday, October 24th as well. And it'll close on Saturday, October 31st. So you got a week within that deadline. And we've been blessed over the past couple of years to have a voting precinct on campus. So that makes it even easier for us. If you're registered to vote in Leon County, you can use that FAMU voting precinct site for early voting, whether you're registered in your apartment off campus or you're living on campus. It doesn't matter where, as long as you're registered to vote in Leon County, you can use that early voting precinct. So take advantage of it, use it to your advantage. I need to see thousands and thousands and thousands of students that are utilizing that poll. We're gonna do a lot of events and social media challenges to try to get students out to vote. We're gonna have a lot of prizes and stuff to go out your way, just to kind of encourage the conversation on social media, to work with housing and do a lot of different things. So make sure you guys follow us on FAMU SGA to stay up to date of all the things that we've got planned for you. We really want to just make sure you guys are staying involved and engaged. If you have ideas about how ways that we can engage you and reach a different audience, let us know. Shoot a DM to me, Carrington Wiggum, FAMU SGA, anybody. We'll be more than happy to kind of take that, work with you on it, because this is about you. It's not about me. It's not about Carrington. It's not about FAMU SGA. It's about the students and the FAMU, the Rattlers are going out, exercising their right to vote and making sure that we get a good turnout in the fall.
Appreciate that, Xavier. Appreciate that, man. Listen, those of us that are on this call, from the president on down, we're only encouraging you to do the same thing that we were doing when we were down in Tallahassee or we were in school ourselves. It is important that you use votetolive.org. It is important that FAMU show up and show out and show why we're the #1 college. Not for the first or second time, we're always the #1 college.
Right.
So listen, I want to thank you all for coming and joining us. Dr. Robinson, can I ask you to give us a 2-minute words as we close?
Thanks again, Oscar, for you and the team for organizing this event. It's really, really going to make a difference. Every single person who votes is going to make a difference. As you said, so many elections, over time have been, determined by very narrow margins. So your vote is big. It's much bigger than you might think. So I just want you to think about FAMU, think about it, how you want it to be in the future, and understand that the people that you put in office will make FAMU the place you would like for it to be. As I said earlier, all of these wonderful things that are happening on our campus are happening because alumni, friends, and others have exercised this right to vote, and they've used their voice to articulate and send messages on the behalf of Florida A&M University. So I thank all of you, Oscar, for giving us this chance to talk to our students and anyone else who's tuned in about the importance of voting, not just this major election, but as you said, every single opportunity that you get, it will make a difference. Thank you very much.
It will make a difference. And before we go, I do have a message here that Attorney Ben Crump is calling in now. It is really important that you guys try to stay on the line and listen to Ben. He is joining us late because he is dealing with yet another tragedy, another incident of police misdirecting their force on a young Black man. So he is coming from meetings with that family right now. And he is, again, one of the most important figures, as we all know, in the movement right now. And he's also one of Tallahassee's own. Ben is a fantastic brother, a fraternity brother from Florida State right there in Tallahassee. So he's kind of our own adopted son at Florida A&M. And because he's been on the front lines fighting the good fight, we do want to hold and give him a minute to join in. But so while Ben Crump is about to join the call, again, I want to encourage everybody to go to votelive.org. And while I'm waiting on him, DJ, can you give us something to vote to?
About voting right. All the way up. Here we go.
Think you stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up.
We need everybody to make sure they go out there and vote, baby. We need you. Come on.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. What you want, show what you need.
Let's go.
Run game, we ain't never leave, never leave. Counting up this money, we ain't never sleep, never. You got V12, I got 12 V's. All the girls jack beat steady knock.
Now you know at FAMU we got one stroke we got to do. We gonna teach it if you don't know it.
Girl steady whack.
Here we go.
Bitch, you can't do it.
Everybody. Right hand, left hand.
Told the girl you
Now
rap,
take
but you
it
see
down.
D flash.
Step to the right, step to the left. Do your dance, do your dance. Here we go.
Man, she say she want
Right,
I keep it
left,
by the pound.
bowl, take it down. Come on. Shout out all my rattlers on the check-in. Make sure you use the hashtag VoteHBCU. Yeah. National Voters Registration Day. Strike the vote. Here we go.
I'ma play the game how it go. They can say we have to do, but I'ma keep it.
Here we go. Right.
And I don't need it
Left.
for the work. I can
Bowl.
fall, girl.
Take it down.
You jump,
Come on.
hating on me.
Xavier, where you at? Where you at? Let's
I
go.
wanna take a ride in that long.
D Hudson, what up?
All eyes on me, shout it, I'm a bomb.
Let's go.
The truth, and they say
If you a rapper, I need you to strike right now.
work, hard work.
If you believe in excellence and care, I need you to strike right now. Let's go.
I'm a hood. I keep it by the pound. The trust of the bunkie, y'all know we run the town. And I keep a bad chick around. Big chick, long hair, yellow, white, red.
Let's go.
And my Chevy sit on 24. Flats look like flapjack. Pancakes, you know. I'ma play the game how it go. They can take me out the hood, but I'ma keep it hood.
What's up?
What's happening? Know to get it cracking.
Do it.
About you already, baby. You can stop the act. I said I'm drunker than the motherfucker. Hide in the flight. Lost my mind and my cell phone in the same night. Police and paramedics.
Just want to get a little silly on the line, just a little bit. That's what I need everybody to do. Go to the polls and make sure they vote. Let's go. Go vote. Come on. Go vote. Do it. Oh! Register to vote. Here we go. Here we go. Go vote. Register to vote. Come on.
Who's next?
Make sure you get registered to vote. Let's go. Y'all know what to do. Y'all know where we came from. Here we go. I need you to tell your friends, tell your family, get registered to vote. And it's really important. Come on.
And I really love you. You should.
Yeah. Y'all sing the words with me. Come on. Come on. Come on. I know that's right. Here we go. Before I let go. Two step, let's go. Come on. My time. That's it.
Lucy Jam,
Oh, he's in. All right, here we go. I got him.
Girl, let's see.
All right, thanks, DJ. Hey, Ben Crump. Ben Crump, the people's attorney for the 21st century. People of our area grew up with some other civil rights leaders and some other great ones, but you are our man, Ben Crump. Listen, we all know you. So these students, young folks around the country, we're looking up to you, brother. You like one of us. So listen,
Absolutely.
Tell us please where you have just been. We have just been talking about this hour with some students from FAMU about how important it is to vote down ballot for your judges, for your DAs, for those people that are going to actually have an effect on our lives if something happens to somebody we care about, and something else just happened as the world keeps spinning in your world. So where are you coming from, brother?
Hey, thank you, Oscar, for doing what you're doing. And thank you to FAMU for making a difference in the world. Right now, I'm in Los Angeles, California, where Dijon Kinsey was shot 15 times in the back by the LA County Sheriff's deputy for riding a bicycle while black. Seems like during the COVID-19 pandemic, everything stopped in America except racism and discrimination, especially when you think about what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with a knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And we're fighting for justice for George Floyd. When you think about Ahmaud Arbery, who was lynched, Oscar, for jogging while black in broad daylight. We see on the video the lynch mob chase this brother down and kill him, not in 1940, Keisha Walker, but in 2020. And then we think about what happened with Jacob Blake Jr. in Kenosha, Wisconsin. You see on the video the brothers trying to get away from the police, never posing a threat to them at all, but yet they shoot him 7 times in the back, point blank range, with deliberate indifference, whether this brother lives or dies. And this is in front of his 8-year-old son, his 5-year-old son, and his 3-year-old son. We can only imagine what psychological problems those babies are going to have for the rest of their entire life. And the 8-year-old was celebrating his birthday that day. Can you imagine, Oscar, what each year his birthday going to be like? And last and certainly not least, as we are literally, I'm getting on a red eye tonight to fly to Louisville, Kentucky, because the grand jury is deliberating whether the police officers who murdered Breonna Taylor in the sanctity of her own apartment are going to be charged and arrested for killing her. And so obviously we have to make sure that what Malcolm X said in 1961 isn't true today, Keisha Walker. Malcolm X said that the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. He said the most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. And he said the most marginalized person in America is the Black woman. And the question that we have as we all focus in on Breonna Taylor 60 years later, has anything changed in America? Have we progressed? And that's why it's so important for you to vote, because as Oscar Joyner was just articulating, it is the district attorney that is usually elected by a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand votes that will determine whether these police officers who continue to use excessive brutal force against Black and brown people, shoot first and ask questions later, will be held accountable. But more importantly than that, whether these police officers, these district attorneys will give us and our cousins and our brothers and sisters the benefit of the doubt. the benefit of consideration, the benefit of possibility when they are accused and charged of a trumped up felony conviction. And I do mean a trumped up felony conviction. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go in any courtroom in America and just sit in the back of the courtroom and watch how justice is being administered. We have little white boys and little white girls have very similar fact patterns as little black boys and little black girls. And you see the white children are escorted out the courtroom to live out the fulfillment of their destiny and have every opportunity at achieving the American dream, while the black young people are taken to the corner of the courtroom, fingerprinted, handcuffed, and now convicted of a felony conviction that they have to wear like a cross on their backs for the rest of their lives. So that's what this election is about. With the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, you think about Breonna Taylor, y'all, it was a dangerous, I believe illegal, unconstitutional, no-knock warrant that they execute disproportionately on black people. In many states, Oscar, no-knock warrants are executed against black people over 75% of the time of all the no-knock warrants, even though we only make up 13% of the population. So they're not busting in white people doors with guns or blazing, shooting our daughters 8 times while they're in their underwear like they did Breonna. But the Supreme Court and the federal judges often decide whether this is legal or not. And so it's important that we have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are going to pick the next Supreme Court justice and these federal judges, so we can get equal opportunity or equal justice under the law. But just as important, it is about electing the right mayors who are going to let the police departments so they can say, we're not going to have these unconscionable no-knock warrants that are a violation of your Fourth Amendment constitutional rights against unlawful search and seizure, because in America, we have a right to privacy. And where we have the greatest expectation of privacy, Oscar Joyner, is in our homes. I mean, for a police officer to be able to bust in your house just because you're a black person and they lied on a search probable cause affidavit like they did in Breonna Taylor, then they try to kill Breonna a second time by assassinating their character like they tried to kill George Floyd a second time by assassinating his character. And that is the playbook, whether it's Trayvon Martin all the way to George Floyd. And the only way for us to change that is to get new people in office to expect the same results without doing something different is the definition for insanity. So right now, I want everybody to remember this as I conclude, Oscar. Martin Luther King said, the coward asked the question, is it safe? He said, political expediency asked the question, is it politically correct? And then he said, vanity comes along and asks the question, is it popular? But then he said, conscience comes along and asks the question, is it right? And Dr. King concluded, there comes a time when one must take a position that's neither popular nor politically correct or not even safe. But there comes a time when one must take a position because their conscience tells them it's the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do to stand up for our community. It is the right thing to do to speak up for our community. It is the right thing to do to fight for our community. Because if we don't fight for us, we can't expect nobody else to fight for us. So we got to go to the polls that like our lives depended on it, because Breonna's life did depend on it. George Floyd's life did depend on it. Ahmaud Arbery's life did depend on it. And I pray with us going to vote, we won't have a situation where your life depends on it. Remember Breonna Taylor. Remember Breonna Taylor, say her name. I love you, Oscar Joyner. You're a great Omega man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. He's absolutely right. Everybody out there, listen. He's talking about Breonna Taylor. I'm from Dallas, Texas, where apparently it's not safe to eat ice cream in your own living room anymore. Okay, so like I said, that police officer that shot a young man in Dallas, Texas, while eating his ice cream is no different than any of the other ones. But the people that we are asking here in Dallas are no different than the people that you all be marching on the Capitol in Tallahassee, Florida to if something happened to one of your classmates. So it's that down the ballot voting that's so important. So go to votelive.org. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Let me say,
thank you, Dr.
Oscar.
Robinson. Thank you
Oscar,
everybody
let me
for
say-
joining us.
Oscar,
Go ahead,
let me say
Keisha.
2 quick things real quick. Don't forget, Rattlers, we are #1 in everything we do, everything we do. And this is a challenge. And there are 3 other HBCUs that think they have and can register more people to vote. So we need you to show up and turn out. Call every friend, family member, cousin, anybody 18 years or older, get them registered to vote. Go and use the link that we have set up. Xavier, SGA president, your entire SGA support team can send you the links and information. Whether you're in a dormitory or wherever, we need you to register to vote and get out and vote and show them, like always, FAMU is #1. Thank you, Rattlers, to Dr. Robinson and everyone tonight. We thank you for your support. Oscar, thank you. Great job.
Thank you everybody for joining us. Go Rattlers, go Heat.
All right.
Go
Thank
Rattlers.
you. Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good one. Good night.